Find it yourself.
Okay.
We're gonna play the Who's Who Are You?
You guys see the movie thing where Trump went on 3 different planes?
Okay, you're
Yeah.
live.
We're live, okay. We will open the August 12, 2026 Town Council meeting. If you will, stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Public comment for Mr. Cannon, you don't, okay. Moving right along. Okay, gentlemen, you have before you July 15, 2026 Town Council meeting minutes. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
So a second.
Second.
Second. Are there any corrections or additions? Being none, Mr. Moran, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Willie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
I vote yes. We also had July 15, 2026 executive session minutes. Entertain a motion.
Motion so made.
Motion by Mr. Willie, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moran. Are there any corrections or additions? Being none. Mr. Nelson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Willie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Moran, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. July 29, 2026 special council meeting. Entertain a motion to approve minutes.
So made.
Mr. Nelson, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Willie. Are there any corrections or additions? Being none. Mr. Willie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Moran, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. July 29, 2026 executive session. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Moran, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Willie. Are there any corrections or additions? Mr. Nelson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Willie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Moran, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Moving along, police report, chief.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I've provided you guys with my written report. Is there any questions that anyone has from that? Being none, all right, I'll move on to the vote. During the month of July, the department handled 103 calls for service and police-related responses. Our community events last evening was our National Night Out. I would like to thank our Police Administrative Assistant, Alice Green, for her hard work on planning, preparing, and giving us a very successful night for the community. This is why having a local police department, this is what having our local police department brings to our citizens. Community events like this, which are supported through our donors and your officers' hard work and planning, provide events that bridge the gap between the community and the police who keep it safe. Our grants, we did apply and we submitted our applications for Violent Crime Sally and Edie, which Mr. Mayor, you signed off on last council meeting. So we'll wait for the meetings and then see if we're allocated to those funds. So that's all I really got for the verbal report for this month.
Anybody have any questions?
Nope, I would just like to say thank you to Chief and all his staff and Alice and everybody it was a great night out there last night. I think everybody that turned out had a great time, and make sure the people that didn't come, we have it again next year. So maybe you'll, hopefully can make it, but I thought it was a great night. I was there the whole time, as were some of the others here, and all good. So no problems. No, I didn't see anybody that didn't seem to be having a really great time. So all went well. Just a comment. Thank you.
Town manager?
So we have received the state approval for the cybersecurity grant for the IT services. We're waiting on the federal approval, which we should have shortly. I did pull the request for proposal for the bathroom for the ADA compliance after a second follow-up conversation with the engineer and the architects at DBF. It was determined that it will be very costly to make the bathroom ADA compliant, and it's a temporary fix because we're planning to renovate. And they said we were looking at probably over $100,000 to make that work. So, in light of that, if, and this is council's pleasure, but the suggestion was to get an ADA compliant porta potty outside the back door of the council chambers and keep it locked other than when we have meetings when someone may need to use it. And then we are providing an ADA compliant facility and not putting $100,000 into a building that we're about to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to renovate anyway. So, I did pull that. The next SCAT meeting is being hosted by the city of Milford, and it will be held at the food bank. And it is September 2nd, and if anybody would like to go, let me know and I can RSVP for you. The cost is $50 per person. And there is a requirement to choose your dinner, your entree ahead of time, and I can let you know what those are if you're interested in going. I don't have it right here with me, I apologize. And I think that's really all I had at this point.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. Discussion and possible action on updating, revisiting the town employee handbook. Mr. DeColo?
Thank you. So for those listening at home, I'm Anthony Del Colo, the employment attorney for the town. We had a discussion at the prior workshop. The only thing that was really left open, aside from some suggestions which I incorporated about various extraneous other sections, was the PTO vacation / sick leave. So I'll just summarize. I was able to adjust so it's clear that, even though I think it was already pretty much obvious, but we made it very clear that you only get accumulation of the different amounts of leave based upon continuous service. So if somebody were to work a year, leave, and come back and work 2 years, that would then bump them into the next bracket. We also addressed the nepotism policy from a very good catch from your town clerk, who pointed out that the prior language for the nepotism policy delineated pretty much every single sort of immediate relation one could have aside from one's spouse. So that's been corrected. I clarified for purposes of the leave, to return to the leave policy, that the time off would be calendar days. So, whatever's provided would hopefully not give rise to any confusion with different employees having different amounts of days that they work or anything like that, so that it's very clear that you're actually getting this span of time off. Because it occurred to me when the chief was referencing Councilman Nelson's draft with the concern about the hours, that issue could also cut the other way if we just say work day or day. Work days are not all created equal, depending upon what an employee is doing. So, but there's no elegant solution for that aside from to say, well, when we say you get 2 weeks off, it's 2 calendar weeks, so that you're getting that. Does that technically mean that 2 calendar weeks in which a police officer or a person from Public Works might normally need to work extra hours because of whatever's going on, that they're maybe getting theoretically more hours, raw hours off, perhaps? But that's just the way the cookie crumbles when you've got a desire to have certain policies apply to different types of employees with a small workforce to make administering it plausible for our town manager when people have questions about personnel and HR and leave issues. So we solved that problem by doing that. I also adjusted the language so that it was clear that it's not going to be like a very long 1-year process. Cut that in half to 6 months, which seems like a reasonable amount of time. That's like a typical probationary period. I also think that's a probationary period that will sometimes be referenced. It was either 90 days or 6 months for like a probationary period for unemployment purposes, that a person can be let go sometimes for a probationary period for no reason at all, and it doesn't necessarily implicate certain aspects of the law. That's not what's being done here, but to me, having that short period where you're really supposed to be at work and you're kind of like being evaluated to make sure that you're a new hire and you're doing good things seems reasonable. So to me, cutting it down significantly to that time frame is a reasonable sort of splitting the difference there. So we changed that to address that question or that concern that was raised during the prior discussion. And then we also made it clear that if a person's terminated from their employment, that they would not be getting a cash out of their vacation. And then there's clear language that in any event, sick leave does not get cashed out for any purpose. And then the only other thing is that there's still this discretion in the policy that the town may essentially at some later time adopt a position of, hey, we're cashing people out, right? And it allows for a clear 1-week carryover without somebody having to submit a request that they actually be allowed to just carry it over. So there's no like cumbersome process where the town is addressing like granular HR requests, which doesn't make any sense. Like if anyone should address that, it should be Rhiannon. But even with her, with all the hats that she has to wear, I thought that having her address such a request would also be silly. So we just made it so that it would be 1-week carryover. The only other thing that I'll note for the record is that there were 2 drafts being discussed for the leave policy before. There was one draft that coalesced all of the leave into one large bucket. And then there was another draft that left them separated into essentially like bereavement, sick, vacation, and then paid holidays, which is just times that the town's operations are closed and pay is going to be provided because it's a paid holiday. We left sick and vacation separate because it would be difficult to efficiently administer a huge, I think, pool, because you could get into a situation where someone who's being unscrupulous could characterize a whole large quantity of short-term leave as all sick leave. And then they would potentially be able to abuse that largesse if you put it all together in one bucket. Whereas now, there's a clear delineation of like for emergent, sick, health-related issues, like here's your bucket. If something's happening more than that, then you would go into intermittent FMLA potentially, or short-term disability or some other discussion with the town about how to address that circumstance. Because you do have a short staff and you don't want a situation where you're having, a lot of that, for however many 3 weeks of potential last minute I'm out for whatever reason, I could see that getting a little frustrating for the folks who are here working, trying to keep things going for the town. So I did leave that separate because there were separate rules delineated for how to access that leave and how to make those requests. So that's a summary of the adjustments that were incorporated to include the prior discussion, as well as the dovetailing of concepts from what I've affectionately called the Nelson draft and the draft that my staff and I have been working on. So I think we're in a position where we can proceed. That's that.
Any questions?
I do have a question, if it's okay with you.
Certainly.
So under the vacation leave, as the verbiage states, vacation leave accrues on a pay period basis. Employees may begin using accrued vacation leave after completing 1 6 months continuous employment. But then it says where you basically earn it, it says after 6 months of service, employees earn 2 calendar weeks of vacation.
That's right.
So are you earning it after 6 months, or are you earning it upon your hire and then you can utilize it after 6 months?
After 6 months, you've got it. So, meaning it's earned upon 6 months, like that's considered earned, for lack of a better term.
Okay, so at the 6, so.
They're able to access the 6 months, or access the 2 weeks after 6 months of being employed.
Got it.
It's been earned.
Whatever they've accrued.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Mario?
Dan, how about you? You're on this.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna make a motion let's move forward, get it implemented.
Okay, Mr. Nelson has made a motion to go forward with the handbook. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Willie. Are there any questions? Being none. Mr. Moran, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Willie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes. We'll move forward. Okay, discussion and possible action on ERP software.
I have reached out to Edmunds and asked for thumb drives for each one of you so that you can review it at your leisure, and I have not received those yet. As soon as we get those, you will have them. I would suggest that it be tabled until at least September to give you guys time to look at it, and hopefully they'll be here by the end of the week. I spoke with him yesterday, I think, so as soon as they come in, I'll get them to you guys.
Okay, I have a motion to table.
So moved.
Motion to table until next month, the ERP software. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. Are there any questions? Mr. Nelson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Willie?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So hopefully by next meeting we'll have that. Okay. Moving on, new business. Discuss and possible action on reconciliations, audits, and agreement with Luff and Associates.
This was mine. I may have jumped the gun a little bit, but, our last meeting or last month's meeting, Luff and Associates gave us an update, and we were basically 6 months off finding out, getting, well, it was what the reason we had hired Luff and Associates, as I had previously stated, was that they were recommended by our bank, Community Bank, when we found out there was almost a $400,000 difference between what's in QuickBooks and what was in our bank accounts. After 6 months, they've given us an update, reconciliations are done. We have a better handle on where we're at to try and move forward with our audits. So I was just gonna ask Rhiannon, were any updates provided to you, or are we just still waiting for information?
I received a memo this afternoon from them, and they are working with the auditors, and they are working on the IRS payment. They have received transcripts from the IRS for payroll records. And upon the completion, Luff will provide the town with a clearer assessment and recommended next steps.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or? Okay. Okay, discussion and possible action on police department vacancy, chief.
Well, Mr. Mayor, as you're aware, after an employee resignation, the police department staffing is down to 2. We have been approved for a manpower of 3, so we are down to 2, which leaves us with a vacancy. Obviously, I need to bring any form of hiring to council's attention for your guys' direction, so that's what I brought it to for your guys' opinion.
Okay. Any comments?
I think, go
We
ahead.
just need to, chief, you need the third person,
I do. I mean, basically, there's 3 options at this point, and I can lay them out for you if you have time.
Yes.
Yeah, where are you going?
Yeah. The 3 options are, obviously, the employee that left the vacancy and left the hole. My ideal situation is to find an experienced candidate that could bring the same level of experience that employee left. But obviously that would be costly. You pay for experience. That would obviously be the quickest fix and get somebody back in here. But that's going to be money, right? We're going to pay similar to what that employee was making to get that experienced candidate. That experienced candidate could also provide supervisory relief for me and be a buffer that I can actually have a true chain of command. But again, it's going to be costly. Second option is that we post and look for a hiring and recruitment process for a brand new hire, someone that you would send through the police academy. Our problem with that is our competitive starting pay is extremely low. We actually have the 2nd lowest starting pay in the state of Delaware.
Who's the lowest, chief?
I'd have to pull my records and find out. Last time I checked, we were the 2nd lowest. So with that being said, there's other agencies that have much higher starting pay that are having problems filling vacancies. So that would be an uphill struggle for me to find a willing candidate to work for that amount of starting pay. And even if by God's grace, we do find a candidate that would want to do that, that means the hiring and recruitment process takes anywhere from 3 to 4 months. Once that person is selected, they'd be sent to a police academy. Most police academies are 6 months. Upon successful graduation from police academy, they would be placed on field training for 12 weeks, which is another 3 months. So you're looking at a year before you would get a officer on the road and get a product for which you're paying for. You would pay that person for a year to get them trained before we would get a body on the road. So that has its pros and cons as well. And then obviously, I'm not a fan of it, but I understand, with financial situations is we don't fill it, we leave it vacant. And myself and my two-man police department try to provide the best services that we can. So in my opinion, those are the three options that we face, unless the council has any other ideas or suggestions. That's kind of where I stand as a chief. Those are my three options that I can provide to you, to give you guys maybe something to think about and where you want to head and what direction you want the police department to go. I can answer any questions you might have.
Do you have an individual in mind that would be willing to come if we chose to fill the spot at the current rate that we already have budgeted for the officer that level?
I would have to post and obviously do a hiring and recruitment process, yeah.
But is there feelers out there, interest?
I know, I wanted to bring it to council first. I haven't posted anything for hiring and recruiting only because I didn't know what direction council would feel comfortable with.
I mean, obviously, gentlemen, the town needs to be back with full force. I mean, 2 cops in today's time and all the stress that the cops are being put under right now, you're gonna overwhelm the 2 that we have. And in order to keep our police force, we need to do what we need to do to keep them here. They are an asset to the community. They're an asset to the town. And that's the reason why we have them here. We chose them for a reason. And they do an outstanding job for, well, when we had 3 for the 3 that we had. Now we have 2 again. And you guys were here when we had 2, then we had 1, and then we were back to 3. So we need to figure it out, but my recommendation is to fill it. Let him see what he can get to fill that void, and we already have the money budgeted right now. So we already know that the money is there for that.
Well, if I may interject, when I was hired as your chief, obviously my long-term goal was to grow the department. My ultimate goal is to have a 24-hour police department. We're a long way from that. I need at least 5 officers to do that. But when I made that, suggestion, I said I would always do it within, I'd make those decisions responsibly. And I'd always make sure we would do it within the financial capabilities of our town. So I think what really needs to be looked at is to ensure that our financial capabilities are going to be able to support, what we want and where we need to get. I met with town manager Slater yesterday to kind of review our salary and our budget and our line items. And I'll leave it to her to explain to you guys where we're at. If you're okay with explaining it.
Yeah, I was getting to it. So after the discussion with the chief, I determined that there was a mistake made in the budgeting of the police salaries. There was a back and forth with the police admin, whether she was on the civilian salary or in police salary. And in removing her from the civilian salary, she did not get added into the police salary. So her salary of $45,213 is not included in the budget currently.
So the proposed budget that we made, the police department was approximately, if you give me 1 second. The police department payroll was $274,593.76. With that being said, my police administrative assistant was a civilian, so the plan was to remove her from that budget and place her back onto the civilian payroll side. The money was reduced and taken from the payroll PD, but it wasn't added back into the budget. So by all accounts, we were operating in the red by that salary of $45,000. It was never added in the budget. It's kind of an oversight that happened, and now we're kind of in a detriment because of it.
Yeah, thank you for, in spite of that, even if this wasn't the case, one of the things that you brought up, Chief, and Town Manager Slater, I think we need to get into our budget period to really make this decision. I know that we budgeted for, the officers' positions leaving, and I agree with everything Councilman Moran, the other council people are saying. We need a police department. I absolutely believe in that. But I think we need hard numbers. And there is the option, this was a question I had for you, is Discover still offering grants for an officer?
No.
Okay,
So, I want to agree with you on that, right? It's my responsibility as the chief to ensure that I can reach these goals without causing a financial crisis on my department. I want to be responsible enough to do that, because obviously I want cops, and I can fill your ears with whatever you want to hear to make sure I get more cops on the road. But I don't want there to be a financial crisis on my side of the wall, if you will. As far as Discover, yes, in previous years, Discover had basically offered us a contract to employ an officer. They had, requests that came along with that grant that, they provided services. When the merger occurred, basically that grant had to go away until the merger was completed. I've had no further correspondence with them since the merger has happened. Besides meeting with their security staff, they bring me and my staff up to speed on, hey, if there's an incident, here's what they do, here's how they operate, here's our typical protocol for coming to bank alarms, bank robbery reports, any form of distress call from the bank. I requested to speak with the new, basically districts, the higher ups, and I've gotten no correspondence.
okay. All right, so that may not be an option, is what it sounds like.
No, I mean, and that created its own issues as well, because we were operating on that contract. The problem with that is you can have another merger and they pull the contract, and now we have an employee who, we can't support it for our own salaries. And I don't want to get in the business of furloughing police officers because we can't afford to pay them.
Right, I was hoping the idea, if it was, yes, this looks like this is a high possibility of happening, that we would budget for it in case that, but Discover Bank was paying, but hey, the money's there in case something happens.
Exactly.
You go a couple budget cycles, hey, it looks like we're clear, hey, now that money is there, now we get the next officer. That was what I was thinking. But I do still stand by, chief, gentlemen, and we have to get into our budget period before we make this decision. We have to see exactly what we have, because the other thing is competitive pay. That is something that if we can budget for it and we know what we have, then we could maybe give that, I'm gonna call it gift. Oh, hey, now it's a little bit more, I can get a candidate that I know will serve the town well. I know it's not the answer we want to hear, but I think it's like the clear and concise and the right one to do, to make sure. And we've gotten other surprises, in the financial period that we're in. We don't want any more, and then, hey, we budgeted for this. There's always another way. There's another way.
Want to make a suggestion, members of council? So this comes from having done a lot of work from the labor and employment side for a number of different agencies and a number of different municipalities and so on. I think part of what ends up causing log jams for towns struggling with what you have is the construct of saying, here's the salary that we're going to set, and then you vote on it and you're stuck with that. And you're kind of stuck in a concrete position regardless of the changing circumstances. I think Chief has had a long career in policing. I think he knows a lot of people in the community, and I'm kind of taking a little bit from Councilman Moran's perspective and from Councilman Nelson's perspective with the suggestion I'm going to make. There can be people who have different circumstances. You can have folks who have a pension that are looking for a change of pace, a change of location, who are maybe towards the second part of their career that would be looking for a different circumstance. You could have folks who are, coming in from whatever situation and they decide that they want to move from one place to another for whatever reason, and maybe they're not at the very beginning of their career, maybe they don't have the same capabilities as a lieutenant, but perhaps they're in the first half of their career or the first quarter of their career, and for whatever reasons, they're looking to make a move to a different locale. There's a whole host of reasons and circumstances for why somebody might be where they are. What I know though is that there's something that Greenwood does offer that there are some municipalities that lack, which is a great working environment. Because I think we have a council that is very fair, very reasonable to deal with. I can testify to that as one of your vendors that has to work closely with you on very stressful issues. I've always wanted to work with you, even when you've been under a lot of difficult circumstances in the past. So too, I know that what I'll call attitude or constitutional aspects of how Chief and Rhiannon approach things with staff is very fair, very magnanimous, and actually has a great relationship, creates great relationships to work in this environment, which is something that with the small town atmosphere of Greenwood is not the easy thing to advertise. Here's all the money, but it's a real X factor that I think your town has that can't be underestimated because of the fact that you know what you're going to be getting into. So I don't mean to step on your toes, Chief, but I would suggest that you can defer an actual strict authorization with the number that you've got out there now, gather more information, but also authorize Chief to reach out and put feelers out, as you were saying, and determine what, if anything, is out there so that there are possibilities or options in some, what I'll call exploratory discussions, so that he feels empowered to do that. Obviously, he's not going to enter into some sort of unauthorized contract without authorization of this body. I think he's, with the cautious way that I've heard this discussion approach, I don't think that's plausible, a plausible risk. But I do think that empowering the chief to explore the options within his network to see if there's something that would be a fit. And as the number situation develops, we can evaluate that and see what the options are so that it's not, so you're not essentially hidebound. Like, oh, now we know what the numbers are. Now, chief, you can go do this. And then suddenly it's like 4 months down the line. 4 months down the line before you've got clarity. So I think we need a blended approach. I think you should vote to authorize chief to have those discussions pending, obviously, further clarification.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, I've got a motion by Mr. Moran, second by Mr. Nelson. Would you like to repeat the motion?
The motion is to authorize chief to explore any possible candidate options, grants, whatever the case may be, while we're also entering into the period of, budget time. Like starting to set our budget.
Okay.
It's allowing the chief to explore candidates and
Any-
options.
Any other questions on the motion?
Sounds good.
Mr. Moran, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Willie?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I just have one question for the chief. It's just popped in my head. At one time, I heard there was a grant out there, cop for cop,
Cops grant, yes.
where we could hire, a grant would come in, we would hire a cop for like 3 or 4 years, however it goes, and then by the end of that grant, then we would have to determine on if we could take on that officer and then jump into, have another one come in behind that one. Is that still out there?
So there are COPS grants. COPS grants are created and they're funded. So typically, it's the first year, they pay 100%. Second year dwindles down to 80. Third year dwindles down to 70. So those percentages then would have to be absorbed by the town and placed in the budget. Obviously, the fourth year, you would absorb the entire salary. As long as that's successful, then you could reapply for that grant. I did mention that during my hiring process, that would be something that I would like to look into. As I looked into it, the COPS grant is one of the hardest grants to get. And it's because you have to provide crime statistics showing why there's a need for police officers, right? You have to have crime data to match why you're requesting a police officer per capita for your area, your district, your jurisdiction. It's a relatively hard grant to complete. Other police departments have basically outsourced it and paid grant writers because it's not just a simple grant like applying for violent crime or something of that nature. It is a very complex grant to get. Larger police agencies actually pay grant writers to come in like a flat fee to do this application for them, see if they're gonna qualify with their crime statistics, and then apply for the grant. I believe it may be beyond my grant capabilities to apply for it, that first look and first investigation into it, because it is very detailed. It's an extremely detailed thing. And it's not a grant that you can violate. So if you violate it and you basically can't pay the 30% the third year, or you can't sustain that officer's salary for the fourth year, you can basically be terminated from that process. They won't allow you to do it again. So it's one of those things. I can look into it. I spoke to other chiefs that work for larger agencies, and they basically said, yeah, we had to tell the crew to pay for a grant writer to come in and write the grant for us. That's more money, right? You spend more money, but you get a little something out of it. So if you want me to look into that further, I can probably schedule some meetings with the other chiefs and see what I can pull.
Well, I was gonna say, if the grant covers 100% of the cost, and say the writing was $1,500, obviously I'm throwing, that's kind of worth it, that could be budgeted.
Yeah, absolutely,
You
yeah.
know, so,
So the first year is typically 100%.
Yeah.
The second year would be 80-20, third year 70-30. And don't quote me on these stipulations, this is what I saw at first glance and looking into it, so. I mean, I'm willing to explore whatever avenues I have to get as many officers on the road to provide the public safety for this town. Short of me going and standing on the street corner, you know? So whatever we need to do to figure out how we can financially back the police department, I'm all ears and I'm willing to work to get it done, so.
Okay. Discussion and possible action regarding sale of surplus vehicles and equipment.
So we have a number of unused vehicles, kind of equipment, that we have a street sweeper that requires about $20,000 in repair, which obviously we don't have the money to do that. And rather than have it sitting around, I think we should just sell it and be done with it, get it off the insurance, save that little bit of expense, and see what kind of money we can recoup from it. The chief and I have spoken about several vehicles that he has, and I'll let him touch on that, but, I would recommend, and we've already talked about the dump truck, and I have reached out to Gov Deals multiple times, and I'm waiting for one of their representatives to contact me and finish setting up our seller account so that I can get the dump truck listed. And one of our residents did volunteer to go out and take photos for me to use for Gov Deals, not only of the dump truck, but he's already done the photos of the police cars in anticipation of being permitted to sell those as well.
is Gov Deals kind of dragging their feet, or is it just the process?
Well, I filled out the online seller application and I hadn't heard anything, so I sent an email and they said, we will have the sales rep contact you, and I've still not heard anything, so I will contact them again tomorrow.
So why are we locked into one?
We aren't, it's just the easiest one to use. I mean, we can do sealed bids, we can do, I think eBay is in our policy. So there's other ways to do it, it's just that's the easiest one to deal with.
How many days have you been waiting for a response?
This second time, I think it's been 2 weeks now, and I will reach back out to them tomorrow.
I would say anything that else is in our policy that's allowable, go that route as well.
Okay.
Okay, if they're, I don't think we should wait too much longer. I don't think we should wait another 2 weeks. I don't know what other council members believe.
But the one that I was telling you about, we can't use that one.
Unibid is pretty much is the same thing as Gov Deals, it's just a different, it's not in our policy now. I mean, we can amend the policy and I can bring that to council to amend it, but right now, I don't believe it's listed in
And
the.
that would take 2 or 3 months to do that.
The policy was adopted by council, I'm guessing, by vote of council, so
Yes.
you have to notice it under FOIA to be able to.
Yeah,
So we know all about for you.
and I'll be honest, my plate has been so full that it hasn't even come into my mind that I need to reach back out to them, but I put it on the list for tomorrow for the job done.
Anybody have any other questions? Okay, you want
No.
to you'll
No, it's got
address
no
that.
vehicles.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Chief.
so I can discuss the police vehicles. So we're in a weird situation because, most departments don't have enough vehicles to outfit their officers. Well, with my vacancy, I have a surplus of vehicles. I have more vehicles than I have police officers. And I don't like switching cars out. prefer to have my own, so. Currently, the police department has 6 vehicles. We have 2 police officers. Obviously, we would like to have enough, if we do hire and fill this vacancy, to continue to put independent vehicles on the road. But obviously, we don't need that many vehicles. So we did some research. We have 3 Dodge Durangos that were purchased all within a very close time period. 2 of the Dodge Durangos were purchased through the ARPA grant. We reached out and basically found out the stipulations for the ARPA are good, the vehicles can be sold. Another one of the Durangos was purchased through the sale of other vehicles, and that money was placed in the general funds. So that vehicle, that Durango was purchased with general funds and is absolutely ours to sell. The 2 electric vehicles that we just got, we did attempt to make contact with Energize Delaware to get some leeway on, hey, what are the stipulations on this? How long do we have to keep it? Can we sell it? What can we do? We haven't heard back from them, so I need to follow up with them in reference to the electric vehicles. If it was a perfect world for me, obviously I want to keep the 2 vehicles that we have that are currently in use and being utilized, and at least 1 vehicle is a spare in case the vehicle breaks down. We have a spare. If the vehicle needs to go in for service, we have a spare. If the vehicle's involved in a collision, we have a spare. So I think I can manage a fleet of 3. But right now, without knowing what the electric vehicles do, I'm at least going to have 2 electric trucks and then 2 patrol vehicles that would be in service. So in my opinion, we have at least 2 Dodge Durangos that can be sold.
And we would have to sell them to the police department because they are fully loaded, or we would have.
I mean, that all depends. The easiest and quickest way is to post it to sell to other police departments, so we don't have to spend any money to strip them. If they were to go to like a surplus sale or a sale, yes, all the police equipment would have to be removed. I'm no mechanic and I'm no technician. I can't remove that equipment. We would have to pay some. We'd have to spend money to be able to sell them. Meaning if we have to send them to an electronics outfitter to have that stuff properly removed, so it would be deemed safe, all the wiring and stuff, and then I'm stuck with all the equipment, that means nothing to us. So I think the path of least resistance would be to post to other police departments to see who had any interest in purchasing slightly used vehicles that are fully equipped. So.
Any other questions?
I'll make, there's no questions. I'll make a motion for the town manager to sell the street sweeper through the allowable avenues. And I'll make a with that motion, for the chief to sell the 2 Dodge Durangos to any interested police department.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Nelson and a second by Mr. Willie. Are there any questions on the motion? Mr. Moran, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Willie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay, that's it. We are now into council members' comments. Mr. Willie, do you have any comments?
I do not.
Mr. Moran?
I do not.
Mr. Nelson?
I do. Give me just a sec to try and find the email. There we go. This Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. At the Bridgeville Rifle and Pistol Club, they're hosting what's called their Family Day, which means this is open to the whole public, that you're allowed to come to this event. One thing that sometimes I am an actual member of Bridgeville, there's a little bit of a misnomer. If you're ever wanting to do competition shooting, at the club, you do not have to be a member to do one of the shoots. So something called USPSA, one of the things I do, just oddly not at that club, even though they host it, that it's like a $20 fee. You make sure you have your equipment, you're allowed to shoot the match. You're just not allowed to stay and continue to shoot in one of the lanes unless a range member has signed you in. That's kind of where the misnomer gets. But this is a way to like see the club, come on out, there's food, vendors, things of that nature. So hope to see some people there.
Okay, anybody else? No, okay then, moving on, executive session. Entertain a motion with an executive session for strategy sessions and advice of opinions from an attorney at law regarding pending or potential litigations and to discuss personnel matters in which the names, competency, and abilities of individual employees will be discussed in strategy sessions and advice or opinion from an attorney at large regarding pending or potential litigation. Delaware 29C 10004 B4. Is there a motion?
I make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Willie. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moran. Mr. Nelson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Willie?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We are in executive session at 7:18 PM. Okay.